Every morning you wake up tired, yet you've done nothing but sleep. Your eyes open, but your heart feels heavy. The alarm clock screams louder than your motivation. You reach for your phone, scroll through other people's lives, and before your feet even hit the ground, you already feel behind, overwhelmed, and hollow. You smile at your family, answer emails, go through the motions, but inside you're barely holding it together. You're constantly anxious, snapping over small things, wondering, why am I like this? Why can't I just feel okay? Or the world doesn't see the chaos inside your mind. But you do, every single day. Here's the truth no one tells you. It's not your job, it's not your past, it's not even your anxiety. The real problem: you never built a place inside yourself that feels safe. You never gave your mind a moment to just be, without reacting, without running, without pretending. But what if I told you that everything could change, not by adding more to your plate, but by anchoring your soul with just one daily habit? And what if that habit could reset your nervous system, clear your mental fog, and make you feel human again? That's what we're going to uncover in this episode. Stay with me. This one habit could be the thing that saves your life from quiet self-destruction. You've been taught that staying calm and positive is about trying harder, that if you just meditate more, read the right book, or think happy thoughts, your life will feel lighter. But the truth is darker and much more honest. Most people are drowning, not because they can't swim, but because they're carrying too much weight inside. And no one ever told them they could set it down. The chaos you feel isn't coming from your environment. It's coming from within, from a nervous system that's been stuck in survival mode for far too long. Every fight, every deadline, every unmet expectation, every harsh word you've spoken to yourself, it adds up. You've normalized the tension in your chest, the tightness in your jaw, the inability to sit in silence without needing to scroll, move, or escape. That's not peace. That's emotional exhaustion wearing the mask of high functioning. And this is the truth that most people will never see. The reason calm and positivity feel so out of reach isn't because they're too far away. It's because you've never given your body permission to stop bracing for impact. You live like something bad is always about to happen. You check your phone hoping for good news, but your gut is prepared for the worst. You avoid silence because it reminds you of what's unresolved. You chase happiness in routines, people, goals, but deep down your body is on red alert 24/7. And here's the root of it all. You've mistaken productivity for peace. You've confused control with confidence. You've built a life on achieving your way out of anxiety, but you've never paused to rebuild your inner safety. That's why the anxiety keeps coming back. That's why one harsh message can ruin your day. That's why you react instead of respond. Because under all your effort, there's no safe home inside you to return to. You were never taught how to calm yourself without distracting yourself. You were never taught that your emotions aren't enemies to suppress, but signals trying to guide you back to stillness. And that's why positivity feels fake. Because how can you genuinely feel positive when your system is still wired for war? It's not your mindset that's broken. It's your nervous system begging for relief. The real battle isn't outside. It's the war inside your breath, your shoulders, your gut, and your thoughts. And until you address that, no affirmation or motivational quote will save you. This is what society doesn't teach you. It teaches you to build resumes, not rituals. It teaches you to hustle, not heal. It tells you to keep going, not to pause. And so you perform, you fake smiles, you overcommit. You say, I'm fine when you're anything but. You become an expert at appearing okay while falling apart privately. That's why you feel tired even when nothing happened. That's why your mind spins in circles when you try to rest. It's because stillness feels foreign, peace feels unsafe, and calmness feels unreachable, not because it is, but because your body has forgotten what it feels like to be safe. And here's the worst part. The more you ignore this truth, the more you normalize suffering. You begin to believe that this is just who you are. But it's not. It's who you've become while trying to survive. And this is why most people never heal. Because they're trying to change their lives from the outside in, when the real transformation always begins from the inside out. You can't outthink a dysregulated system. You can't visualize your way out of chronic stress without first creating internal space. And that's where the one habit we'll discuss today comes in, not as a productivity hack, not as a trendy tool, but as the missing link between the chaos you feel and the calm you crave. But before we get there, let this truth sink in. It's not your fault that calm feels hard. You've never been shown how to build it. But from this moment on, you won't stay in the dark. Because the moment you see that the real cause of your unrest isn't your circumstances, it's your lack of emotional anchoring, you gain back your power. You realize it's not about changing the world around you. It's about reclaiming the world within you, and that changes everything. Now that you see what's really going on beneath the surface, let me ask you something uncomfortable. What happens if you do nothing about it? What happens if you hear this, nod in agreement, maybe even feel inspired for a few minutes, but then return to the same habits, the same rhythms, the same mental noise that's been quietly wrecking you? Most people will. They'll go right back to living in reaction mode, right back to scrolling through chaos, right back to being consumed by the world around them. And the cost? It's massive. Because when you don't anchor yourself, the world decides your emotional state for you. One bad comment ruins your mood. One delay ruins your day. One small inconvenience turns into a full-blown internal breakdown. And over time, that doesn't just steal your peace. It destroys your health, your relationships, your potential. Chronic stress doesn't show up overnight. It creeps in quietly. First, it's sleepless nights, then it's mood swings, then it's that constant tightness in your chest that you write off as normal. But it's not normal. It's a warning sign, and if you ignore it, it will become louder. Because what starts as emotional disconnection becomes physical exhaustion, then burnout, then breakdown. And here's the truth no one talks about. If you don't learn how to calm yourself, your body will eventually force you to, through illness, through collapse, through a moment where your system just says enough. And in that moment, it won't matter how much money you made, how many tasks you completed, or how productive you were. None of that will protect you from the consequence of a neglected nervous system. I know that sounds intense. It should. Because the price of inaction is your life. Not in some dramatic, headline-grabbing way, but in a slow, subtle erosion of your joy, your presence, your energy. You start to forget what peace feels like. You stop laughing as much. You become more reactive, more numb, more disconnected from who you truly are. You look in the mirror and you recognize your face, but not your spirit. And all of it could have been prevented by doing one small thing each day to reclaim your space. Not for productivity, not for show, but to simply come back to yourself. Because when you don't create your own calm, you unconsciously absorb everyone else's chaos. You become a sponge for the world's anxiety, and you can't live like that forever. Eventually, something breaks. It's just a question of what? Your health, your relationships, your clarity. So let me say this clearly. If you're waiting for life to slow down before you take care of yourself, you'll wait forever. Life won't get quieter, but you can. And you must. Because the longer you delay, the harder it becomes to remember who you were before all the noise, before all the pressure, before you became so used to pretending. You are not meant to live in constant fight or flight. You are not supposed to carry it all alone. And you're not broken for feeling overwhelmed, you're simply ungrounded. But that can change today with one habit, one ritual. One moment you give yourself each day, not to check off a box, but to remind your body, your mind, your soul, this is what safety feels like. This is what peace sounds like. This is what it means to come home to yourself. But only if you start. Only if you decide that your well-being matters more than your to-do list. That your inner state is worth protecting, nurturing, reclaiming. Because if you don't choose to change, you're still making a choice. And that choice leads to more numbness, more burnout, more pretending. So ask yourself, how long are you willing to pay that price? How many more mornings do you want to wake up already overwhelmed? How many more nights do you want to lie in bed exhausted but unable to rest? How many more moments do you want to lose to emotional static? There is a different way, but you have to be brave enough to walk it. And it starts with the decision to not live like this anymore. You've seen the cost of doing nothing. Now let's talk about the breakthrough that could change everything. So here it is, the breakthrough most people never discover, even after years of self-help books, therapy sessions, or meditation apps. It's not about doing more. It's not about fixing yourself. The real transformation begins when you create one small, sacred moment each day where your mind is allowed to slow down and your nervous system is allowed to breathe. One moment. One daily anchor, that's it. It sounds too simple, right? And that's why people overlook it. They're too busy chasing big solutions to see the power in something small. But here's the truth. The people who seem calm, centered, and unshaken by life, they aren't born that way. They've built something. Quietly, consistently. And it always begins with this, an anchor ritual. An anchor ritual is a 5 to 10 minute practice you do at the same time every day to center your mind and body. It can be as simple as writing down what you're grateful for, or doing 3 rounds of deep breathing, or sitting in silence and watching the sunlight crawl across the wall. What matters is not what you do, it's how you do it. With intention. With stillness. With the full belief that this moment is not a luxury, it's a necessity. This isn't about self-care that looks good on social media. This is survival. Emotional survival. Mental survival. Because the world will always try to pull you in 100 directions. But your ritual is the thread that pulls you back to yourself. Here, why this works. The human nervous system craves rhythm. It wants to know when it's safe to relax, when it's time to focus, when it's allowed to rest. But most people live in complete unpredictability, constant alerts, interruptions, noise. So the body never gets the signal that it's safe. A daily anchor breaks that cycle. When you repeat a calming habit at the same time and place every day, your body begins to associate it with safety. That's when the shift happens. That's when your baseline changes from chaos to calm. Because you're no longer reacting to the world, you're rooted in something deeper. Think about it like this. Imagine a tree in the middle of a storm. The wind is fierce, the rain is pounding, but the tree doesn't fall because its roots go deep. Your anchor ritual is your root system. The stronger it becomes, the less life can shake you. You'll still face hard days. You'll still get triggered, but you'll return to yourself faster. You'll respond instead of react. You'll find clarity where there used to be panic, peace where there used to be noise. And here's the most hopeful part. Anyone can do this. You don't need money. You don't need a perfect schedule. You just need to care enough about your peace to give it 10 minutes a day. You can do it in the morning before the world wakes up, or at night when the house is quiet. You can do it with a journal or a candle or nothing at all. It's yours, your moment, your return. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the noise took over. That version of you is still in there, calm, clear, powerful. You just need to make space for them to rise again. And that space is created through one habit, not 10, not 20, just one. Don't underestimate the power of small done consistently. That's what rewires your brain. That's what calms your breath. That's what tells your body it's okay now. You're not in danger. You're safe. So let go, rest, heal. That's the breakthrough. And it's been within your reach this whole time. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to wait until you're less busy, less stressed, more motivated. You need to choose today that you're worthy of peace. Not because you earned it, but because you're alive, and that's reason enough. This is where everything changes. Not with a resolution, not with a 5-year plan, but with one quiet moment that you honor every single day. Your anchor, your ritual, your reset, your peace. Let's break it down and make it yours, right now. Let's get honest about why this actually works. Not just in theory, but biologically, psychologically, and emotionally. This isn't magic. This is wiring. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. It repeats what's familiar, what's rehearsed, what's emotionally reinforced. And right now, for many people, the brain is rehearsing stress. It's addicted to overthinking. It's patterned around hypervigilance, around scanning for threats, around reacting before reflecting. That's not because you're weak. It's because your nervous system has learned over time that the world is not safe. And the only way it knows how to survive is to stay alert. This is where the anchor ritual becomes transformational. It gives your nervous system a different pattern to practice. When you sit down and do one small calming action consistently every day, you're sending your brain a new signal. We're safe here. We're not chasing. We're not reacting. We're not fighting. And the brain listens. Neuroplasticity kicks in. You start forming new neural pathways. The amygdala, your threat detection center, begins to chill. The prefrontal cortex, The part of your brain that makes thoughtful, grounded decisions activates. Your heart rate slows, your cortisol levels drop, and that sense of being constantly on edge, it softens, not instantly, but with repetition. Imagine training a wild animal to sit calmly at your side. At first, it resists, it fights. It wants to run, but with consistency, with gentle presence, it begins to trust. Your nervous system is no different. You've trained it to brace for impact. Now you're retraining it to soften. And this isn't just neuroscience, it's chemistry. A daily anchor ritual triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural calming response. It's like hitting the brakes on a runaway car. You don't have to wait until the car crashes. You can choose to slow it down every day with one simple act. And over time, your baseline state begins to change. Here's the part most people miss. This change doesn't happen through intensity. It happens through consistency. You can't flood your brain with one meditation session and expect lifelong peace. That's like going to the gym once and expecting six-pack abs. Real transformation comes from repetition, not volume. 10 minutes a day beats 1 hour once a week. One act done every morning rewires you more than 10 done sporadically. This is how high performers stay calm under pressure. This is how monks cultivate peace in silence. This is how trauma survivors rebuild a sense of safety after years of chaos. They all do the same thing. They ground themselves through ritual. But even more than the science, there's something spiritual about this. Not in a religious sense, but in a soul-deep recognition that you are not your thoughts. You are not your chaos. You are the one who notices it. And when you return to your ritual every day, you remind yourself, I'm not the storm, I'm the sky it moves through. You remember that peace is not a distant goal. It's a practice, one that you return to, one that returns you to yourself. Let's take an example. Someone who's dealt with chronic anxiety for years. They've tried therapy, medication, exercise, but they still wake up with a racing heart. Then they begin one habit. Every morning before touching their phone, they light a candle, sit in silence, and take 10 deep breaths. That's it, just 10, but something starts to shift. Their mornings feel slower. Their thoughts come with less urgency. They find themselves less reactive in traffic, less irritated by emails, more present with people they love. Not because life changed, but because they did. Their inner world began to stabilize. This isn't about perfection. You'll still get angry. You'll still get anxious. But now you'll have a tool, a rhythm, a place inside you that doesn't break when things around you do. That's the power of this habit. Not that it makes life easier, but that it makes you stronger, more rooted, more awake, more alive. So the next time someone asks how you stay so calm when everything around you is loud, you'll know. It's not luck. It's not personality. It's practice. It's the quiet, powerful choice you make each day to come back to center. And the good news, you can start building it today. Let's get into how. Let's turn this insight into real, practical steps you can take right now. Because knowing this isn't enough, you've got to live it. Let's begin. Here's where everything shifts from insight to action. Because inspiration without application is just a feel-good escape. You're not here for that. You're here to change something real in your life, and you will. This is where we break down the habit that can completely rewire how you show up in the world every single day. Not with fluff, not with theory, but with 5 clear steps you can start today. Even if your life feels like a mess, even if you're overwhelmed, even if you've tried and failed before. You don't need a perfect schedule, you need a decision, and this is the moment to make it. Step 1, choose your anchor time. This is non-negotiable. You need to pick a specific time in the day when this ritual will happen, ideally the same time every single day. Morning is powerful because it sets your emotional tone before the world has a chance to shake you. But if mornings don't work, choose a time you won't skip. Right after brushing your teeth, during your lunch break, 5 minutes before bed. Time isn't the problem. Intention is. Your nervous system needs rhythm. When you anchor a habit to a specific time, your body begins to expect it, prepare for it, and respond to it. This isn't random self-care, it's scheduled resilience. Step 2, create a trigger and a space. A habit is easier to stick with when it's tied to something that already exists. Maybe it's the moment your coffee finishes brewing. Maybe it's right after you set your phone down at night. Whatever it is, link your anchor ritual to a concrete moment that already happens. Then choose a space, physical or mental, that signals this is my time. It can be the corner of your bed, a chair by the window, a blanket on the floor. You don't need candles or crystals or perfect aesthetics. You need a place that feels yours. Over time, just sitting there will begin to calm you. That's how you create a sanctuary without ever leaving your home. Step 3. Choose your ritual. This is where most people get overwhelmed. They try to build a habit that looks good instead of one that feels good. Forget that. You're not performing peace. You're practicing it. Your ritual can be one of the following. Deep breathing for 3 to 5 minutes using the 4-7-8 technique. Writing down 3 things you're grateful for, specific ones, not vague fluff. Journaling your current emotions in 1 sentence. I feel heavy. I feel hopeful. I feel anxious but grounded. Or simply sitting in silence and placing your hand over your heart while you breathe. Choose one. Not all of them, just one that resonates. Keep it simple, keep it repeatable. The goal isn't intensity, it's continuity. Step 4. Remove friction. Your brain will look for reasons to skip this. I don't have time. It won't work. I'm tired. Plan for that. Lay out your journal the night before. Set a reminder on your phone with a message like, "Come back to you." Put your chair or candle in place. Whatever makes the path smoother, do it. Willpower fades. Systems don't. Make this ritual so easy, so accessible, that skipping it feels harder than doing it. If it takes more than 10 seconds to start, you've made it too complicated. Simplify. This is not about proving something. It's about protecting something, your peace. Step 5, end with a sentence. This may sound small, but it matters. The way you close your ritual imprints the meaning into your brain. You're not just finishing an activity, you're sealing in the message. Pick a sentence that grounds you. I'm safe. I choose peace. I am not the storm. Today I lead myself. Say it out loud if you can. Whisper it if you need to, but say it every day. The brain responds to repeated cues. Over time, that one line becomes a command to your entire nervous system. And eventually, it won't just be a phrase. It'll be your truth. That's it. 5 steps: choose your time, create a trigger and space, select a ritual, remove the friction, end with a sentence. And now you have a tool most people never build, a reset button for your inner world, a daily space where you reclaim your breath, your thoughts, your energy. This is how peace becomes a lifestyle, not a distant goal. This is how you turn calm from a moment into a habit, and from a habit into a way of being. But don't wait for the perfect day to start. Tomorrow morning or tonight or whenever you choose, start, even if you feel nothing at first. Even if your mind wanders, even if it feels awkward, that's normal. Do it anyway. Because with every repetition, you're carving a new path in your brain. You're training your body to return to safety. You're telling your soul, I'm listening now. I'm here, I'm home. So here's your challenge. 24 hours from now, you will have either done this or made another excuse. Which version of you are you becoming? Choose the one who shows up for yourself, starting now. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Not in theory, not in motivational hype, but in the messy, unpredictable world we all live in. This is the story of Maya, 39 years old, 2 kids, single mom. Works in health insurance. Commutes an hour both ways, 5 days a week. By the time she gets home, she's drained. Her youngest wants help with homework. Her oldest is shutting down emotionally. The dishes are piling up. Her boss sent a passive-aggressive email. She hasn't exercised in a month, hasn't slept well in 3. And she's forgotten what it feels like to breathe without holding tension in her chest. Maya is exactly the kind of person most people assume doesn't have time for self-care. But she knew if she didn't do something, her body would do it for her. Her doctor had already warned her. High blood pressure, migraines, rising cortisol, all of it pointing to one thing. She was living on fumes. She didn't have time for a vacation or a therapist. She barely had time to finish her coffee before it went cold. But she did one thing differently. She decided that every morning before she turned on the lights, before the kids woke up, before the world came for her attention, she would sit in silence for 5 minutes. That's it. She didn't read. She didn't scroll. She didn't try to be productive. She just sat wrapped in her robe with her hands resting gently on her lap. And she breathed. At first, it felt strange. Her mind wandered. She doubted it was doing anything. But she stayed with it. Day after day, and something began to shift, not overnight, but quietly. She started noticing her tone with her kids was less sharp, that the tightness in her shoulders was softer. That during traffic, she didn't scream at the steering wheel like before. She didn't feel completely calm all the time, but she felt like herself again, not the exhausted version, the grounded version, the woman she hadn't felt connected to in years. After a month, she added one sentence to the end of her ritual. I choose peace today, no matter what comes. She whispered it like a prayer, and slowly it became true. Her co-workers noticed. Her kids noticed. She noticed. And when the hard days came, as they always do, she wasn't knocked over by them. She still cried sometimes, still got frustrated, still had setbacks. But she returned to that chair, that breath, that sentence. And it brought her back to center, every time. Maya didn't need a retreat. She didn't need a perfect life. She needed 5 minutes and a choice. A commitment to one habit that no one could take away from her. And that changed everything. Not because her life became easy, but because she became anchored. Now maybe you're thinking, that's nice for her, but my life is more complicated. I get that, truly, but Maya's life wasn't simple. It was layered, chaotic, filled with pressure and pain. What made the difference wasn't her circumstances. It was her consistency. She didn't wait to feel ready. She didn't need the stars to align. She needed a breath, a moment, and the courage to begin. And maybe that's you today. Maybe your version of that 5-minute anchor is different. Maybe it's not silence. Maybe it's a journal. Maybe it's standing barefoot on your balcony at sunrise. Maybe it's 3 deep breaths before the chaos starts. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's. It just has to be yours. The world will always be noisy. There will always be traffic, deadlines, family pressure, bills. But you don't have to carry it all in your body. You don't have to brace every day. You can build what Maya built, not perfection, but peace. And the way you do that is by choosing to begin. There are thousands of people like Maya, men and women, young and old, from every walk of life, who have reclaimed their calm, not by changing their entire lives, but by changing one daily habit. It's real, it's possible, and it's yours if you want it. So let this story be your proof. Peace doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from rituals that center you when everything else pulls you off balance. And you don't need years to get there, you just need today. One choice, one moment, one habit. Over time, that becomes a new identity. You stop saying, I'm just always anxious. Will you start saying, I'm someone who protects my peace? And that shift, that quiet, consistent shift, that's how lives change. That's how you change. The biggest mistake most people make when trying to stay calm and positive isn't that they don't want it enough. It's that they make the habit too complicated, too perfect, or too fragile. They create a routine that only works in silence, with candles, the perfect playlist, or a sunrise. But life doesn't always give you peace and quiet. Life gives you a crying baby, a crashing inbox, a bad hair day, a fight with your partner, a skipped breakfast. And in those moments, your perfect routine collapses because it wasn't built for real life. That's the trap. People also assume if they miss a day, they've failed. They fall into the all or nothing mindset. One stressful morning, they give up. 1 week of not journaling, they toss the notebook. One day where they lost their temper, they say, see, I'll never be calm. But growth doesn't happen in the absence of failure. It happens because of how you respond to it. Missing a day doesn't erase your progress. Losing your cool once doesn't undo your calm. You only lose when you quit. Another common pitfall is turning the habit into performance. You meditate because your friend does it. You write affirmations that sound good on Instagram. You follow a routine that feels trendy but not true to you. And because it doesn't fit who you are, it never sticks. You need to create a ritual that feels like home, not a task to check off. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be honest. Authenticity beats aesthetics every time. People also try to feel calm instead of choosing calm. That's a dangerous loop. If you're waiting to feel zen before you take a breath, you'll never breathe. Feelings follow action. You don't have to feel positive to say something kind. You don't have to feel peaceful to take a deep breath. The habit comes first. The feeling follows. This is where most people get stuck. They wait. They wait for motivation, for clarity, for the right mood. But the habit we're talking about is not passive, it's intentional. You do it especially when you don't feel like it. That's when it matters most. And let's not forget comparison. You'll hear someone talk about their 2-hour morning routine, and suddenly your 5 minutes feel small. But small is sustainable. Small is powerful. What works for you is what will change you. It doesn't have to look impressive, it just has to be consistent. Don't let someone else's process make you doubt your progress. Lastly, and maybe most dangerously, some people believe they don't deserve calm. They've lived in chaos so long, peace feels uncomfortable. Stillness feels threatening. They sabotage it. They rush to fill the silence. But that's trauma talking. That's conditioning. And it can be rewired. You can learn that peace is safe, that you do deserve to feel good, to breathe easy, to not constantly brace for impact. And that learning starts when you stop running and sit with yourself, even if it's awkward at first. That awkwardness is healing in disguise. So if you've tried before and it didn't work, it's not because the habit failed. It's because the approach wasn't made for the real you. This time, do it differently. Don't chase perfection. Don't try to impress anyone. Don't build a ritual that only works on Sundays. Build one that survives Mondays. Build one that lives through chaos. Build one you can return to, not escape to. That's the difference. Calm isn't a personality trait, it's a practice. Positivity isn't a gift, it's a discipline, and the people who master it, they're not special, they're just consistent. And they've learned not to fall for the traps, so now you know what to avoid. Now you're ready to build something that actually lasts. If there's one thing you take away from this episode, let it be this: peace isn't found, it's built. And the best time to start building it is not tomorrow, not next week, it's today, right now. Because your life won't magically calm down on its own. The world won't stop spinning just so you can breathe. You have to make space in the chaos. You have to claim your moment before life fills it with noise again. And that starts with one small action. So here's your challenge. Not a massive overhaul, not a 30-day challenge or a grand morning routine. Just one small, honest action tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you get pulled into the demands of the day. Give yourself 5 minutes. That's it. 5 sacred, protected minutes to ground yourself. In those 5 minutes, you can sit in silence with your coffee and watch the steam rise. You can write down 3 things you're grateful for. You can breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold again for 4. It doesn't matter what you do. What matters is that you do it. And that you do it every day without fail, like brushing your teeth. Because peace isn't something you wait for. It's something you practice. If you're listening to this thinking, but my life is too loud, I don't even have 5 minutes, then this message is especially for you. Because the louder your life gets, the more vital it is to find your center. If you don't create that space, your thoughts will take it. Your anxiety will take it. Your obligations will take it. And you'll end up wondering why you feel so disconnected from yourself. The answer is simple. You abandon the moment that reconnects you. Don't do that again. You've heard the truth. You've seen what happens when you do nothing. You've understood the power of just one anchor habit. So don't leave that wisdom in your headphones. Don't let it dissolve into the next task on your calendar. Let it move you into action. Right now, grab a pen and write down what you're going to do tomorrow morning. Name it, own it, protect it. Set your alarm 5 minutes earlier. Tell your family you need that time. Create a ritual that's so personal, so grounding that you miss it when you skip it. Because that's when you know it's working, when your body starts craving peace instead of chaos. You are not powerless. You are not broken. You are simply out of rhythm, and rhythm can be rebuilt, slowly, consistently, quietly, until your calm becomes louder than your stress, until your peace becomes louder than your fear. So what will you do tomorrow morning, not someday? Not eventually, but tomorrow, 5 minutes, that's all. And then the next day, and the next. Until calm becomes who you are, not just what you're chasing. Start now. Because the longer you wait, the louder the world gets. And you deserve to live a life that isn't just about surviving. You deserve to feel steady, clear, centered, alive, so breathe, commit, and begin. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, not because you chose to, but because life put you there. The wind howls, chaos spins around you, and yet you don't flinch. You're rooted, still, steady. That's what this habit becomes, not a band-aid. Not a break, but a core part of who you are. A quiet strength that refuses to be shaken. But here's the truth most people won't say out loud. Building calm and positivity isn't glamorous. It doesn't get applause. No one's handing out awards for choosing grace over rage, presence over distraction, gratitude over stress. You don't get likes for sitting in silence when the world screams for attention. But that's where the real transformation happens, not in public but in private. Not when others see you, but when you finally see yourself. And so I'll leave you with this. What would happen if, for the next 30 days, you didn't try to change your whole life, but simply returned to 5 minutes of calm each morning? What would shift if, instead of chasing peace in 1,000 directions, you anchored yourself in one habit that grounds you? What if the person you've been searching for, the centered, joyful, strong version of you, has been quietly waiting just beyond your first breath of the day? You don't need a new identity. You don't need more apps or advice. You need a rhythm that reminds you who you are. And when you build that rhythm consistently, patiently, imperfectly, it becomes more than a habit. It becomes a refuge, a place you return to every single day, a place where the noise fades and your clarity rises. That's the life you were made for, not reactive, not anxious, not overwhelmed, but intentional, rooted, awake. And it all begins with a single choice, a single pause, a single morning where you say, I'm showing up for me. So ask yourself now, not tomorrow, will I just know about this habit, or will I live it? Will I let this message pass me by, or will I let it take root? The world will keep rushing, but you don't have to. You have the power to be the calm within the storm. You just have to claim it. Start tomorrow. Start with 5 minutes. Start with you.